Hi, I'm Stephanie, and this is a special Texas Peach Knits Homeschool Knit and Chat episode. So, if you've been watching my podcast for a while, you know that I homeschool my 4 children. In the coming year, I am going to be having a first grader, a fourth grader, a seventh grader, and a freshman in high school. I do not homeschool year round. We take the summers off, and I use the summers as time to plan my next year. Now, I do not follow a complete curriculum. And because I live in Texas, I do not have to report to the state. And there are only certain subjects that Texans are required to teach their children in their homeschool. Now, we all want our children to be successful and succeed and learn what they need to learn. So I actually do spend quite a bit of time choosing curriculum and planning our homeschool year every summer. But the interesting thing is my method of planning, which may or may not be a new method to you, is in such a way that every summer I find myself having to do less and less planning because I can recycle a lot of my plans with my other kids once they get into those grade levels. So I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit of my method and how it helps me feel that we're really doing the things we need to be doing and covering all the important things to minimize holes in education. But if you really want to talk about holes in education, I am a firm believer that everyone has holes in their education. It is unavoidable. No matter what school you go to, you cannot learn everything. So the most important thing is to learn how to learn and to also really enjoy the process of learning. So with my children, I try not to, just check mark things or over obsess about whether or not they are getting a concept because I know that they will come in contact with those ideas over and over again in the years of their education. So today I'm working on my faucet. I am at the bottom border and I decided to do the one by one patterning that's up here at the waist. I decided to repeat that at the bottom. And so I'm going to attempt to work on that while I talk to you. So I might have to look down and see what I am doing. I'm also enjoying a homemade iced coffee. And it is a very warm day in Texas. We have started having heat advisories, and if we're not already over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, we will be soon. So it's all about staying cool at this point in Texas. So how do I plan my homeschool year so that I know what we need to do and I make sure we can get it all done in a reasonable amount of time? The first thing I do is I do some calendar work. I actually look at our calendar as a whole year. I find it really helpful to look at the big picture and to see how many days we're going to be at co-op, how many days we are going to be on holiday, and how many days we have holy days. The reason I look at holy days is because since we're Catholic, there are several days throughout the year where we go to Mass and it's not a Sunday. And usually I take my kids at noon because the nighttime 7 p.m. or very early 7 a.m. services are just not as easy for a whole bunch of kids. So we usually go at noon, and I need to know ahead of time when those days are going to be so that I know we can plan a slightly lighter school load, even though I do consider going to church part of our school experience because it's a part of our faith, and I think it's important to include those things in your education, to include your religious beliefs. Okay, so let me show you the type of calendar I use. I printed one off and I'll show you briefly, and then I might insert a picture, and I will link this calendar in the show notes today. So this is just a school year one-page calendar, and it goes from August of 2023 all the way through July of 2024. So this is the blank one. And then what I did this morning is I color-coded our school year. So this is just like what you would see at a public or private school, is your calendar with all of your holidays. And I just we're going to take breaks. So even though a lot of homeschoolers say they use school year round, so they don't really have to plan things out, it's really helpful to know how many days you actually have. So these are the things that I color code. I color code our co-op days in purple, our no school days in green, and our holy days in, this is actually an orange, and then I have our start of school in a yellow, which looks just like the orange on the screen. So, and then the next thing I do is I do a lot of counting of days because, and you'll understand why in a moment. So our total number of days is this 158. We have 85 Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. We will have 71 Tuesday, Thursdays, 51 Monday, Wednesdays, and 35 Fridays. And I counted that we had 16 days of co-op, so that makes approximately 174 days of school. Now, the traditional school year is 180 days. I know that in some cases we might get sick, take some days off, in which case we'll just go another week or two into the summer, whatever we need to do to feel like we have completed our school year in a reasonable manner. I also counted that we have approximately 44 full weeks. Now I count full weeks as weeks where we have at least 3 days. So if we had a holiday on a Monday and co-op on a Wednesday, like that's still a 3-day week. You could still do some of the like full week things, but maybe not everything. So we have 44 full weeks this coming year. And like I said, if we need to go 2 weeks into the summer to finish things, that's not a big deal, though it is not my preference. My preference is for us to wrap everything up and move on with our lives. Because I do enjoy taking breaks from school, and I'm sure my children do as well. So the reason I count all of these days is because once I choose the curriculums that my children are going to follow, I make a list of all of the assignments in that curriculum. Now, I don't register my children for specific classes, which in that case, like the teacher of that class would give my children a schedule and let them know in what order they are supposed to do the curriculum. But because I don't register with a specific curriculum, I have to be the planner of how my child is going to complete that homeschool class in order to have completed it. So, for example, my 7th grader we'll be doing Memoria Press, Famous Men of Greece. These are lovely, lovely books, and I've seen them used in a lot of ways. I believe you can fully register for these classes where you have a teacher you can watch on the internet, or you can get lesson plans from Memoria Press to go along with these. I do not use them that way. I have my children read each story, and I actually break them up depending on how long they are, so they fit in a certain amount of time. So like this first chapter is the gods of Greece. So they would read this chapter, and then they would complete in the student guide. Here it has vocabulary and comprehension questions, and then extra activities. So when my oldest daughter did this book, I made sure to, in the summer, make a list of all of the readings. So here you can see I've numbered them from 1 to 41. And then the different items she would have to do along with those readings. And how I use this with my calendar is here I see that she will need at least 41 days to complete this book. So I can look at my calendar, and I believe I actually gave them 2 days for this approximately, so that they could read one day and do the questions the second day. I would look at my calendar and I would see, okay, so I need approximately 80 days. I see that Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I have 85 days scheduled on our calendar. So the Famous Men of Greece would be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday job for my daughter. So she would basically, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, when we have school, go down the list and complete these assignments. Now, I do write them out in her assignment book as we come to that week. I don't pre-write everything into the assignment book because you're going to get sick, you're going to miss a day, somebody is going to invite you on some kind of awesome field trip, and your schedule is going to be off. So it's important to always put it on the schedule where you have extra days. So I wouldn't want to squeeze this into just 80 days. I want to choose a part of the schedule that I have cushion. And don't write the actual assignments in the assignment book until the week of. And I have done that on Sunday nights. I have done that on Monday mornings. It just depends on where we are that week when I get to writing the assignments in. So that is how I tackle that. Now, my daughter, when I was looking up books to order for her this year, she is very interested in creative writing, and I was ordering from rainbowresource.com, which is one of my favorite homeschool curriculum websites to order from. And she saw this little Telling Tales, Writing Captivating Short Stories book. And she asked if she could do this as part of her curriculum this year. This is not a traditional curriculum book, so this was kind of like an extra for her. So as I look through this book, I notice that it has chapters. So the first chapter is, what is a short story? And then the second chapter, as a get inspired informational reading, and then this thing that says your turn. So the your turns are basically prompts for short story writing assignments. And they are in almost every chapter, there's a few of them in this book. So since this is a non-traditional item to be using for a homeschool, I would probably go through this, and this is what I'm going to do, and I will count how many basically like lessons there are, and then how many your turns. And I will try to schedule this where she has one a week. So she will have something to read and then a writing prompt once a week. Now, how do I grade that? Well, I don't have to give grades. So the only subjects that I grade are the things that have clear answers. So like math, grammar, science. I will go through and I will check their answers and let them know what things they need to correct, have them correct them, and then in math, I will give them a letter grade. In most of the other subjects, I just have them correct their work until it is adequately completed. Now for this, what I will likely do is have her work on the prompts, and then I will read her prompts, give her some feedback, and then at the end of each month maybe have her pick her favorite one to either present to our family or go a little further with. So if there's one that she wants to turn into a longer writing assignment, she can work on that. If there's one she wants to just read to our family at the dinner table, I think all of that is great. And mostly with this, it's a creative thing. She has other subjects for grammar, and I'm not going to overanalyze. Let me put it that way. I'm not going to overanalyze it. She wanted to do this for fun, so I'm just going to give her some helpful feedback and hopefully help her progress in her interests in writing. So this is new for us this year, and I think it's going to be really fun for her. So with our mathematics, I use Singapore Math Primary US Edition for grades 1 through about 6.5. And then I switched my kids to Saxon Math. So here's the Saxon 7-6. My daughter started this in the second half of 6th grade, and she will complete it in 7th grade, and then she will likely be ready for pre-algebra in 8th grade. Now with math, I do not finish the book in the year. Math, we just keep going. So whenever she finishes this book, I will give her the placement test for pre-algebra. If she does great on the placement test, then we will just start the next book, even if she's not in 8th grade yet. So that's what I do with all the kids' math, is we just keep going. Now, let's say they finish a book and there's 1 week of school left before the summer. We're not going to start the next book then, but like my kindergartner this year, he finished the kindergarten math before spring break. So we had a whole nother 2.5 months. And so he just went ahead and started the first grade math. There's no reason to be like, okay, you're done, you don't have to do it anymore. We just keep going. So math is we're just going to keep going, and it's worked for us so far. Now, in some states, you're required to give not doing a lot of knitting. Let me pull my knitting out. I'm talking with my hands. In some states, you're required to give standardized testing to your kids, and either report the results of those testing to your state, or just report to your state that you did it. I actually find some types of standardized testing really helpful. With my daughters, when they were in the fifth and the seventh grade, I had them take the Iowa um, standardized tests. And these are not tests you would prepare for, you can't study for them. Basically, they cover a whole lot of material from before your grade level, on your grade level, and beyond your grade level. And when you get the results back, you can see whether you're working at grade level, under grade level, or above grade level in all the different subject areas. Now, the reason I found it helpful to give my children these tests, even though I didn't have to and I don't have to report to anybody, it really helped me see what areas we needed to work on. And I mean, we want our children educated, right? So it was helpful for me to see in what areas we needed to work on before getting into high school. So one thing we saw was my then seventh graders' vocabulary was very advanced. And I thought, oh, well, we're not going to stop doing vocabulary, but I don't need to like spend a ton of time stressing about vocabulary. That's a subject that we can just keep a part of our curriculum. And I really don't have to like worry too much about it, or you know, you only have so much time in the day. I don't have to check it as carefully or as often as some of the other things. Whereas my fifth grader, some of her areas of math, she needed extra work. And the Iowa tests were able to tell me, you know, was it problem solving? Was it word problems? Um, Fractions? You know, whatever area of math she needed extra help in, that told me, and then I was able to go back in her math book and review things with her. And then also when we hit those concepts again, because math, you're always coming back to the same concepts, I just made sure that we really went through everything before we moved on so that she really understood how to do things. So I do find the standardized testing to be helpful. I don't think it's necessary with younger kids. I feel like it's more once you get close to middle school, it's really helpful to see where you are so that you can kind of look ahead for the next few years before you get into high school. Okay, so what else is my seventh grader going to be doing this year? She is going to be, this is a new one for us. She's going to be doing the Seton Press Bible History for Young Catholics. She actually did the sixth grade book this year and she really liked it. So she asked to do it again, even though it wasn't on my like overall, this is what you need to do. And the nice thing about this book and the Seton books, is they tell you how many chapters they have. So this one has 34 chapters, and she can easily complete a chapter in a single day because it's basically a Bible reading and a few comprehension questions. Now, I like to use things like this is fill in the blank. She's not going to write in this book. I will have her write in a separate notebook, and I'll have her write the complete sentence with her answer. And the reason I do that is that's how I get extra cursive practice with my kids without having them just like do tons of cursive pages. These are short enough and easy enough, and she can answer these questions without too much trouble. So having her write them into a notebook in the full sentence, not only does it help with her sentence structure, but it is a good cursive practice for her as well. So since there are 34 chapters in this book, I refer to my calendar. I see that I have 35 Fridays in the school year. So this will be a Friday only assignment. So every Friday she will do one. If she happens to get to the end of the year and we've missed a Friday and she's off, she can either do an extra one week, or we can just not worry about it. So everybody's sick sometime, right? Okay. So the other Seton books that I use and I really like are their English books. These are English grammar. So it's mostly like diagramming sentences, which I love diagramming sentences. And I feel like it's one of those things where if you're a visual person, it really helps you understand sentence structure. So these do a lot of diagrams, and you really learn the parts of speech, how sentences are formed, really, really well. I love the Seton English curriculum, and we do not enroll. I just purchase their books, and they're very, very straightforward, and I just have my children complete a lesson at a time. Now, my older daughter already did the Seton 7, and I already made my helpful list of the book. So from here, I have a list from 1 to 148. So that's how many days it would take to complete this curriculum. Now, what I have found that we need to work in review days. So after I correct a section, it's nice to have a day to go back, make corrections, and review anything from that section. And those are not included in this 148 days. However, if I look at my calendar, I notice that I have 158 days planned for the school year. So that gives me an automatic 10 days that I could work in to do review. And sometimes if they're working through faster, she might do two in a day, but that just shows that I have enough time to complete this book with her. The other Seton book that I use is the reading. So this is the thinking skills. They also have a comprehension reading. And I don't have my children do both every year. I just pick one. And this one takes excerpts from classic literature, and they read, and then there are different types of questions after each reading. So this also I have split up from when my other daughter did it, and it basically, this says I need 66 days to complete, and so that this would probably be a Tuesday, Thursday job because I have 71 Tuesday, Thursdays. So once I figure out like which books are for which days, then I make a little chart to show which assignments they do each day, and I try to make sure it's even so they don't have one day where they have just tons of assignments and then other days they don't. And it usually works out really nice and balanced. So she will do that. And I also have for her science this year, this is just like a public school science textbook. It's life science. I used to teach school, and it was a very long time ago. But this is actually the book I taught out of when I was teaching 7th grade science. So life science has not changed that much, and so we just use the same book because I'm very familiar with it and it's easier for me. So we plan out this book the same way. I make the list of assignments from 1 to whatever number. We figure out how many days a week we need to work on that subject, and then it's just plotted out for the whole year. So usually with the science curriculums, I let them choose which labs they think are interesting to do, which ones they want to try, and I usually don't do all of them because it's too much. And our co-op that we're in almost always has really great science classes, and so they get lots of like extra science and labs and projects at our co-op, so we don't have to do all of them at home. And that's one of the benefits of being in a co-op is your kids can do the activities that are really more fun to do with a group than it is to just do at home. Basically, that's what I do with all of my curriculum is I choose which books, curriculums, things I want to do for each subject, for each child, and then in the summer I sit down and I make those lists of what order we need to complete the assignments in. The nice thing is then if we really liked it, I can reuse the list 3 more times with my 3 other kids. And there have been times I've had to change curriculums because something either went out of print or we really didn't enjoy it, or I have a child who has a completely different interest and I want to choose something different for them. Okay, so I'm going to show you quickly what I have chosen for my boys. So they're the 1st grade and the 4th grade. This is for my 1st grader, and keep in mind this is not everything. We do a lot of read alouds and reading together as a family. I really like the curriculum available at Mater Amabilis. I think .org or .com if .org doesn't work. I'll put a link. But it is a free Catholic Charlotte Mason curriculum. It's very similar to the other big free online Charlotte Mason curriculum. I can't remember its name, but I will add it. But basically, a lot of our history, a lot of our religion, and our science, and our literature, I choose books to read aloud as a family, and I cycle through them. And we're just now getting to the point where I'm rereading books with my little ones, and my older ones had already heard them, but they are so excited to hear them again because these are lovely, lovely books that are just wonderful to read together. So they won't go off and do their own thing. They'll stay and they will listen again. So like I said, everybody has holes in education, but if you love it, you're going to keep learning and you're going to revisit things over and over again. Okay, so for my 1st grader, he is doing primary mathematics. This is the 1B. He already started 1A. It's in my house, so don't have it out here right now. But so this is just a math book, and it has a little textbook that looks like a workbook, and then you purchase new workbooks for each child. So this is the little workbook. So he'll be doing that. He will be doing the Seton English 1 because I love these books and they are just so lovely. They have these beautiful little Catholic pictures sprinkled inside of them, and in English 1 they're just going to be learning parts of speech, things like that. Love, love. He does handwriting without tears. years, so he'll be doing this My Printing book. We use Explode the Code, so he'll be starting book 2, because he did book 1 this year. We also do this handwriting book, Writing Our Catholic Faith, because I use this as kind of part of our religion curriculum, and it helps reinforce handwriting. So, for example, the sentences you're copying are Catholic things. So Lent lasts for 40 days. So you're learning little tidbits of the faith while you are practicing your handwriting. And then he is going to be doing spelling 1, which is also a Seton book. And I accidentally bought, they sell this one. This is kind of the updated spelling. They sell their older style spelling book as well, and I accidentally bought both. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to try to pass along the other one, or if he's like really motivated, just let him do both. I don't know. So, and then on top of that, we're going to be doing a lot of him reading aloud to me, and all those kinds of things that first graders do. Now my first and fourth grader, I'm going to have them do science together this year, and I'm using these books, which I just had. So these are Southwestern, which I think is an MLM, but I bought them probably from a used bookstore, and they're just a generic kind of Christian science, but we will just go through, we're doing 3 different topics. We're doing Earth and Space, kind of like Simple Machines, which is the science and technology, so there's like magnets and light and all that kind of stuff, and then a basic natural world science, so this is, you know, plants and animals and whatnot. So we are going to do 1 each trimester. So we'll probably do this one before Thanksgiving, this one between Thanksgiving and Easter, and then this one as we move from Easter into summer. And my goal with these is to just introduce a lot of science topics. We will probably check science books out of the library. I have tons more science books just at home already, so we will pull the ones off our shelf that go along with the different topics. So in here, they get some vocabulary, we get a little bit of information, and then also there are some questions and even some lab ideas. When I was opening this one, I saw one I did with my other girls that I'll probably do again. Here it is. So it is fossils, where you actually make your own fossil to kind of break apart with a rock or a shell and plaster. And I don't know whether or not that's a super accurate fossil, but it was a lot of fun to do. Everyone thought it was really fun. So my fourth grader will be finishing Primary Mathematics 3B, and this one you can tell he's probably the 4th or 5th student to use this, because I bought it used. I need to put some plastic over this book now. So that's 3B, and then he will move into 4A. He will have the Seton English 4. He likes doing these little map books. These are made by Scholastic, and we buy them through Seton. I think Seton is developing its own geography curriculum, but he's been doing these for a while, so these are like a 1-day-a-week job. He also has Explode the Code, and this is a phonics curriculum if you're not familiar with it, and it just has like funny phonics. So like this, you look at the little picture, and you have to read the sentences. It says, the mummy needs to cut his long fingernails, or the mummy puts his 13 fingers on the trombone. And so you look at the picture and decide which one it is. So it's the long fingernails. So they think these are fun. My fourth grader is an excellent reader, but he still needs a lot of help in the spelling department. I actually have a spelling book for him too, but I don't have it in front of me. And he has the Writing Our Catholic Faith grade 4, which is cursive. And so here is an example of what that looks like. And so this says, the Holy Spirit gives us gifts such as knowledge and understanding to bring us closer to God. So these, they just do one, they'll do 1 page a day to practice their cursive. So I think that is the majority of what I do. They also each, I assign them a book to read a month independently. So I go through all the literature lists for recommended for different grade levels, and I choose a book every month. I often try to have it like go with the season. So around Christmas, they'll read a Christmassy book. Thanksgiving, we often have more like early settler Thanksgiving type books. And in the spring, I like to do books with animals because of like the new life of spring. But I just go through the lists of recommended books and choose things I would like them to read. Last year, each of my children completed a reading journal where after each chapter of the book they were reading, they did a journal entry, either drew something, wrote about a character, wrote about what was happening in that chapter, wrote down some words that they thought were interesting to define. And it was very open-ended, and it was just a way to get them to interact with the books that they were reading on their own. Prior to that, I have done book reports where I have them read 3 books. So we'll do 3 months of books, and then they pick the book they liked the most or they thought was the best for a book report, and they complete a book report. And that could look anywhere from a 5-paragraph essay to a diorama to a newspaper article based off of the book and the happenings in the book. So that kind of keeps them thinking creatively and interacting with the books that they are reading. So both of those things have worked well with us with literature. And history, I guess I didn't show a whole lot of history today. We always have some kind of history read aloud that we do at lunchtime together as a family. We also like to listen to the Tan Books Story of Civilization CDs in the car when we're driving around. And I often have, especially my older girls, they will usually have a history textbook to read on their own. And often the book for the month will be a biography or some kind of historical piece as well. So we get lots of history. I hope you have enjoyed this little something different. There was not a lot of knitting, but I'm doing a lot of thinking about homeschool right now. And I really enjoy this, spending the time in the summer to really put everything together and write everything down. And if you can do that and you can recycle things with future kids, you really save yourself a whole lot of time. My eldest daughter is going to be enrolled in a full program for high school, and it's going to be my first time enrolling her in a homeschool curriculum. where it's like you get everything just comes to you and you follow their directions. So she will be reporting to a third party, not to me as much, and be receiving grades for all of her things. And I am a little nervous about it and excited at the same time. I'm excited for her that she is growing up and she's going to be taking a lot more responsibility for her things. But also I know that it's going to be a new a new adventure for both of us, so I'm going to be having to give her a lot of mom support. So that's okay. We're going to get through this together. So that's why I didn't share curriculum choices for her for ninth grade, because we are fully enrolling in a program. So I think it's a really good idea for our family. I don't think everybody has to do that, and we'll see how it goes. And I take it year by year. If it's terrible and we're miserable, we will reevaluate and figure something else out. So I hope if you are planning your homeschool curriculum that you are enjoying it as well. I know it can be a little overwhelming, but just take it a piece at a time. Make a lot of lists. And if you have any hints or tips for other homeschoolers, you can drop them in the comments. I am not a diehard for any kind of specific program or type, like there's, classical or Charlotte Mason or school at home or whatever. I think you should just do what you like. So as long as you have the freedom in your state to choose your own curriculum, you should choose what works for your family. So don't feel influenced to pick things just because other people say you should do it. You should do what works for your family. And on that note, I'm going to go because I evidently can't knit and talk. And I need to go finish my faucet so that I can have it done before the end of June. So it was great talking to you, and I'll see you again soon.